Think it's time to quit your job? The CFO of Plank Ventures, Melanie Pump, joins us with some things that you need to consider. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So the pandemic has made lots of people kind of take a look back, and maybe your boss is telling you that you're going to have to come back into the workplace in the next little while, and people are making this decision like, do I really want to go back?
Yeah, I think people are really just assessing their lives overall, and we've had a lot of time to think over the past year, and definitely our jobs are big impacts on our lives. So those are one of the things that we're looking closely at.
Okay, so what do you need to really do before you hand in your resignation?
Yeah, I think before you consider leaving the job, you need to make sure that you're looking really clearly at it. For one, our brains have a tendency to really focus on the negative. So you want to ensure that when you're deciding if it's time to leave your job, that you're fully assessing the situation and looking at both the positives and the negatives to make sure that it's worth leaving. Because the reality is that going to a new job, it is a risky endeavor. So you really want to make sure that it's the right thing to do. So even just make, those pros and cons lists of the good and the bad to make sure you're fully looking at it.
Right, and it's important to actually write that down then, right? So that you see it.
Absolutely, because our brains are so tricky. So they will focus on that negative. So you want to, trick it back and really make it clear what's the good, what's the bad, and so you can fully assess the situation.
Right, and you talk about that negativity bias. Sometimes you have to remember back to, why did I want this job in the first place? And that kind of resets your mind, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, and make sure you're looking at it holistically of all the factors involved in the job.
Okay, because moving on to a new job might not necessarily be better. You're going to think that, I'm going to be happy if, I get this pay amount or I'm doing this type of work.
Right, exactly. And you want to have that thought process about what exactly is the problem, and have you tried to fix it in your current workplace as well? Because let's say, for example, your salary is the issue. Well, have you given your employer an opportunity to increase your salary? Because the job markets have changed and salaries have changed, but your current employer may not be aware of it. So that may be why you're underpaid. So that's just one thing, make sure that you make an effort in your current job too.
Because there may be other issues besides pay, right? That are really bothering you that maybe your
Workload.
manager or your boss just doesn't know about.
Exactly. Like they may not realize that, say, your job has creeped over the years and all of a sudden you have too much work. They may not really realize it. So if you sit down and have that conversation, maybe you can correct that without having to take that move to go to a new job.
Okay, and always best, I guess, to have a new job before you leave your old one, right?
It's definitely highly recommended. Yeah, I mean that it is risky. It's always harder to find a job when you don't already have one. So definitely try not to make it, unless it's truly an unhealthy environment. Try not to make that rash move to move. Yeah, before you have a job.
Right, and I'm hearing more and more just anecdotally about people who are changing, not just changing jobs, but they want to change careers.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to consider, because if you're unhappy in your current job, is it your employer or is it actually the job itself? Because you don't want to go and make a move to just the same job in a different company and then you're carrying on that problem. So it's a great point. Like, is it your career in general or is it your employer?
Right, and you have to look at it holistically too. Like, is there something else going on in your life that you're unhappy at work about?
It's so true, because really, like, our lives have really been impacted over the past year. Your social life, maybe there's hobbies you haven't been able to do. Those things could be creating a general discontent, and the job seems like that's an easy thing to change, especially right now in a great job market, but it may not actually be what's making you unhappy. So you want to think, really consider it. Do you just need to kind of re-engage your social life to bring your life outside of work back up again?
Okay. And is it a good idea if you've been working from home for a long, long time and you're about to go back into work and you think, I don't want to go back, I'm about to quit. Should you give it just a chance of going back just to see if maybe things jive again?
I would say yes, unless there's other factors. Like, let's say there's something else in the environment that's really impacting your mental health. You have an issue with your boss or those types of things. But if it's really just the remote work, we've gotten used to it. We've gotten comfortable with it. Do give it a chance, because you managed it before. So it's good to give an honest try before you decide it's not working.
And what is it still like your stereotypical, like, you've got to give 2 weeks notice, or how do you go about doing that?
Generally, I mean, 2 weeks is the minimum. Some contracts require more. So I recommend, pulling out your employment agreement and having a look at it again to see what you agreed to when you accepted the position. Because it could be that you said 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So you want to make sure you understand what the contractual obligation was.
Right, and make sure that that is the decision when you hand it in, that that's the decision that you want, right?
Definitely, because there's no going back on that. Yeah, you want to be really clear and make sure you thought it through.
Okay, Melanie Pump from Plank Venture, thanks very much. You're giving me a lot of food for thought. I am not quitting, by the way.
Good to know. Yeah,
We'll get the
thanks for
details. Yeah, we'll get the details up at chch.com.
Bye.